Welcome, comic book fans. I said welcome really weird, didn't I? Well,
I was like, this is a cool new Marz voice. I'm gonna go with it.
Whole new.
What kind of voice am I gonna do?
I think it's this tropical live energy drink. It's got me on a whole nother wavelength. But we're back, ladies and gentlemen. It's the Unknown Comic Book Podcast. It's your boy Marz, aka Marlon Beardo, the Bearded Weirdo, the Stella Rosa Casanova, the Great Wonder, and the Curator of Culture, with my partner in crime, the one, the only, John E.
Raps.
We're back to talk about more geek stuff, more comic book stuff, more film, MCU, DCU, you know, all the good stuff. And we've got a very special treat, of course, because we have some dope raps reads with you, as always. But before we get into it, brother, how the heck have you been doing? I know you've been doing some big things musically, man. Please tell the people what you've been up to.
Well, I just released a new single, and it's definitely my most successful release so far, or release week to speak of. So I want everybody to check it out. It's called "It's a Party." It's party. It's party. Shake that ass, bitch. It's a party. Everybody in the spot get naughty. It's a party. Bitches got naughty. Wanna reach out and touch somebody. It's a party. It's a party. Shake that ass, bitch. Work that body. And it's featuring Bizarre from D12. You know, I'm a rapper, if you can't tell from the name. As well as an actor and podcaster and a beloved comic book geek like my buddy Marz here. But yeah, man, check out if you're into hip hop, especially like real, genuine, old school hip hop, that kind of thing. I want you to tap in. So you can just follow me on social. Go to Instagram or whatever. Go to link in bio, and you'll see it right there.
Absolutely. Please check it out. It's a phenomenal song. It's doing well, man. It's good energy. It's summertime. I think it's perfect for the summer. People are going to be out there partying. People are going to be out there drinking responsibly, having fun responsibly. And it's definitely a theme
Video's
song.
coming soon, man. Video's coming soon. That's going to be crazy.
Real soon. Epic, man. So today we're going to be talking about a movie that I think I can say for my brother Raps, we absolutely love. We're going to be talking about, of course, some rap reads, because you can't have a comic book podcast without the source material, the comic books. Even though I don't know if there's a source material that 100% correlates, it rarely does. He's going to have some fantastic reads for you guys. So we're going to get right into it, brother. Do you want to start with the rap reads? How many do you have for us today? 1, 2.
I got a list of 5. I'm going to try to go through them quick, though. I'm going to bang them out. This is just like, it's all related to Spider-Verse in some way in my mind.
Okay, let's get it.
It should all tie in. But first, I think, a really good thing for everybody to check out. Of course, obviously, you should read the Spider-Verse crossover. That's not even on my list. Everybody is probably already going out and buying the trade paperback if they haven't already. I think, if you're watching the movies, you probably were inspired to go pick that up by the first movie, and you realized, it was a little different. The comics don't really revolve around Miles as much as the movie does, which is what I think is, with the movie, obviously the purpose of the movie was to give Miles his story. So that right there is the big difference between that comics. The Spider-Verse comic does focus on Peter Parker as the main protagonist anyways. But Miles is part of his little team, you know what I mean? And so after they did the first Spider-Verse crossover, after Dan Slott did that, because it was so popular, as a follow-up, he didn't do it, but a different writer, Mike Costa, did a short-lived ongoing series. It made 11 issues because I don't think the readership was really there, but it was to me, it was a super fun story, and it was about the team that the team that Peter had formed, which is basically the team that you see Miles form in the first movie, the team that they tease at the end of this last one coming back. Spider-Ham is part of that team. Spider-Man Noir is part of that team. Spider-Gwen, it's pretty much the team that you see in the movie with a few variations. There's like a Captain Britain version of Spider-Man named Spider-Man UK. And he's the one that has access to
the multiverse.
In his reality, there is the Captain Britain core version, like his own Captain Britain. If anybody's ever read Excalibur, Captain Britain has access to the multiverse, and in that there is a whole Captain Britain core where it's all his different variations from all the different worlds. And this was back in the 80s, so this actually came long before the Spider-Verse. And the Spider-Verse, they is kind of like a version of that to begin with, but then there is within the Spider-Verse a Spider-Man version of Captain Britain, which is Spider UK, and then he has his own like Spider Core or whatever it is that they call it. It's really crazy. So it's like that's like a multiverse within a multiverse kind of thing. But that's like what you see. That's probably where they got the idea for the what you see, that whatever organization it is being led by Spider-Man 2099 or Miguel in the second movie. What's that?
Miguel O'Hara, for those who don't know.
Yeah.
I love how they mix with, Miles Morales. It's like black name, Hispanic name, Irish name. It's like we're just gonna bring everyone in.
I don't even know if that explanation of Spider-Man UK made sense.
No, it made perfect sense.
It's very convoluted. It's very like it's like a variation within a variation of a variation. But which is probably why they didn't do him in the movie. And they were, but he's part of the team. And anyways, Web Warriors is the name of the series, and it's just them. It doesn't involve Peter or anything. It's literally like they're trying to maintain the great web that connects everything, while Peter is absent.
Right,
and it's just a fun run. You might have to go dive into, might have to really go dig in to find it. I don't know, what it's like to try to get your hand on trade paperback, because I followed it when it was singles coming out back. Well, that was a while ago. So, but I highly recommend. Number one on the list, Web Warriors. If you want something fun, if you're into the movies, it's not going to be hard for you to follow, because it's a lot of the characters that you already recognize from that first Spider-Verse movie. Going on, I just read this. I just finished reading this last night, and this is also something if you just want something really fun. I'm a big Carnage fan, and so they just did a 5-part miniseries of Spider-Man 2099 Dark Genesis. And it is the introduction of the 2099 version of Carnage. It's basically Maximum Carnage in 2099. And part of the reason I picked it up is because I'm a huge Carnage fan, and I really like the current run of Carnage in his own titular series. I'm loving it right now. I'm loving it by writer Ram V, who kind of came out of nowhere. He's currently writing Detective Comics. He's also writing Carnage, but I'll get into that in a minute. 2099 Dark Genesis. I also picked it up because, man, I just wanted to see the heroic Miguel again after watching that movie, because they really did a good job of
They
making
know the villain or an
character.
antagonist, I'll say. I would not necessarily villain, but
Yeah. And he's never been that way in the comics at all. He's a very innocent character, very Peter-like in a lot of ways, as he is a descendant of Peter Parker in the future. So
when 2099 series came out, it seemed so far away, and now here we are in 2023, and you're like, I don't think this technology is catching up anytime soon.
Well, it looks like that's the thing in the book. So I read this as 5-part miniseries, and it was a lot of fun again. So if you're looking for something that just kind of like stands alone, you don't really need to know a whole lot what's going on. It's written by the same guy that wrote the last Spider-Man 2099 series, which I think I picked up the first issue and was like, oh, this is cool, and then just like forgot about it. So you don't really need to know what's going on beforehand. It's a good standalone little mini series. But the thing that was interesting about it is they seem to have slowed down the development of the technology in the 2099 world to perhaps match up. I mean, I don't know do you have any idea what the High Line Park is in New York City?
No, but please give me a little.
So it's very close to where I work in Midtown, and it's a big tourist attraction. But it is there used to be a railway that went from the Hudson River into the meat markets, so that when the boats came in, they could just put the shit on the railway and take it there. It hasn't been used in like forever.
Right.
So, I would say about a decade ago, they started building it into it's like they call it a park, but it's a one-of-a-kind park because it's like a walkway.
Right.
And it's like an elevated walkway that goes several blocks through the city. And you can like walk above, and you can look in all the rich people's windows that are like right there. You're walking past like skyscrapers that people live in. It's very interesting. So I noticed in the artwork, and they have a lot of like they have that going on, but just more of them.
Nice.
And I'm like, I'm not seeing a lot of flying cars right now. They've kind of started to like make the 2099 world a little bit more
rounded.
Yeah. And the story of the plot of it is actually not that far fetched. In the last book, basically what they tell us is that he beat he somehow beat this organization who was kind of like taking over Nueva York, and they were called the Black Cards. And basically it was all these elite people that held a certain credit card, the Black Cards, and they were like, the wealthiest people. So he overthrew them, and now it's like the platinum card holders that are that are the elite. And it's all
American Express Black Cards. As what did Bow Wow say in that line? I'm under 23 with a black card, not to be confused.
But it's very interesting because your entire social status is based on whatever credit card you have, and that's how they hold you down.
Not unlike real society, but that's another show. So
but that's what's going on in there, and the people were sick of it, and so Carnage, Carnage comes to be. I'm gonna let you read that for yourself. But there's a new Carnage. He's crazy looking. He got a giant tail that he just uses to like slash people's heads off with. And that my favorite thing about this book was the penciling. The art is just popping. It's just. It's crazy. Not very realistic drawing. I don't want to say like cartoony, but it's it kind of actually reminds me of some of the the drawing in the most recent Spider-Verse movie, and the coloring kind of reminds me of that too.
Well shaded.
A lot more gory. Like, it's just like, heads flying everywhere and people getting cut in half, and but I've never seen this artist's work before. So Justin Mason, I'm going to keep my eye out for that name, and I'm probably going to pick up anything I see from him, because I love this art. It was new to me. It is very much a style that I enjoyed, and the book is by Steve Orlando. So check out Spider-Man 2099, Dark Genesis. I'm moving right on to the book I already mentioned, Carnage, and this is relevant because of the Spot being the bad guy, because basically, like, the whole premise of this is that Carnage doesn't even need a host to operate anymore. Carnage is enjoying operating without a host. And Carnage can do so because it is tapped into the Codex, which, if you've read all the most recent Venom stuff, you would know now how the symbiote hive works and how it is all connected throughout the multiverse. And so, Carnage is like pretty much operating on, Cletus Cassidy died, but because of the Codex, his consciousness somehow remains in the symbiote hive. So he's kind of like a remnant of Cletus Cassidy, but more just Carnage.
Right.
That makes any sense. And really loving it. He's really loving that he doesn't need a host, and he fucking kills Hydro Man and somehow absorbs Hydro Man's powers, which I think is maybe like even like overkill, because now he can just like seep into your pores, because it's like he can turn into liquid water. You know what I mean? Like, he was already oozy to begin with.
Yeah.
Why I was like, why couldn't he do that already? But it's, I guess, water is everywhere, so he could just like kind of like vaporize if he wanted to and kill you, I think. And so
definitely OP when you think about it. Like, dude, how do you beat this guy?
Yeah. And then he decides he just wants access to the multiverse, and he knows he can get that through Spot. So he goes and kills Spot, and in some crazy convoluted way ends up traveling through the spotted realm or whatever it is, and he pops out in Hell, Hel, like that, the Asgard version of Hell, and it goes from there. So it's really a bonkers series, and he has like this dude, instead of like having a host, he has this guy that wants to be his host, that he's like letting follow him around, kind of like a Renfield, if you will, like a Carnage Renfield. He's like, I just want to be your host. Like, please bond with me. And he's like, no, shut up. Come on. You'll kill some Asgardians.
He's a fanboy. He's very his stan. Like,
yeah, he's a fanboy. And it's told, and it is told through, basically they're being followed by a detective the whole time. And this guy's really trying to take down this detective, a random character that I've not seen before in the Marvel universe. I read that he existed before, but he just, I forget the name of the character even. I'm not even going to go look it up, but they're being tracked by a detective. So it's kind of told like a detective comic, which makes sense, because the same writer is literally writing Batman detective comics for DC right now, which I also really love. So check out Carnage by Ram V. There's 2 trade paperbacks out now. I haven't read the second one yet. I have it in my stack, but the first one was great, and it made me pick the second one up. I want to just throw this out there because I think it might be coming down the pike with the success of the Venom movies and the success of the Spider-Verse. There is a Venomverse crossover that has happened. they're actually in the books. They're on. I also just got the first couple of these in my stack, but they're on basically their third chapter of the Venomverse story. So the first crossover was Venomverse, and then he goes back and encounters the same bad guys that were trying to kill him in the first one, and it's called Venomized. And it's very Spider-Verse. It's very he meets a bunch of Venoms from a bunch of different universes, and then now the current story they're doing is Extreme Venomverse.
An X, right?
Yeah, Extreme Venomverse. So yeah, I don't know what that looks like. I picked it up, but I didn't start reading it yet. But I love all the Venom books, and so yeah, and if you're a Spider-Man fan, you really should be a Venom fan too. If you haven't read the Venom solo books, you don't know what you're missing. I got into comic one of the first comics I ever picked up from a store was a Venom, random Venom comic. So I've always loved Venom as a hero, as a villain, whatever. But check out Venomverse. It's the Venom version of Spider-Verse. And if you like it, I mean, there's probably going to be a movie of that shit somewhere down the line, 10 years down the line or something.
Probably less than that, once this writer strike is over and they get back and producing new content.
We've already seen multiple versions of Venom and everything. They could do it.
No problem.
So, yeah, that makes 4. And then last, I just want to talk about the most recent volume of Spider-Man, the title Spider-Man. It's Spider-Man Volume 4. Right now they're about 8-9 issues in. It's written by Dan Slott, who wrote Amazing Spider-Man for over a decade. And so it's very much a classic team on this book. Dan Slott's the writer that created Spider-Verse. He's the one that wrote the first Spider-Verse crossover. He wrote Spider-Man, which is the book before that where Spider-Man meets Miles, which is actually the beginning of their mentor-student relationship, which was a setup for the Spider-Verse. And then, so Dan Slott he wrote Spider-Geddon, which was the second chapter of Spider-Verse. Basically, this was, in my mind, unless I'm missing something, this is the third chapter of Spider-Verse. But only it's happening in an ongoing Spider-Man title. And so the first arc of Spider-Man Volume 4, written by Dan Slott and drawn by Mark Bagley, like I said, classic team.
Excuse me, guys. Sorry. That's
classic.
That's technology. There we go. I'm back.
Classic technology. Classic team. Mark Bagley, Dan Slott. If you've been reading comic books as long as I have, Mark Bagley's drawing on Spider-Man for sure. And so, yeah, this is the third chapter of the Spider-Verse story, I would say. And it's revolving around a new bad guy. In the first couple chapters in Spider-Verse and Spider-Geddon, they were fighting the Inheritors. And the Inheritors are vampire-like beings that travel the multiverse looking to feed on spider totems, which is, how we get into the Spider-Verse. Originally, we met Morlun back in the early 2000s of this in the Amazing Spider-Man books written by John Michael Straczynski. He created the bad guy Morlun. And we met Morlun. We didn't know there was more of him. We just knew that he was super duper powerful. All he had to do was touch Peter to sap him of his powers and to feed on him. And he was going around killing other superpowers. And so he was, it was very epic. There was a whole lot of build up to Peter fighting this guy. But he defeats him, and then all these years later, Dan Slott brings him back, Spider-Verse, and we learn that Morlun is part of a family of these vampires. They can't really be killed because when they're killed, they have an avatar, like a clone avatar, waiting for them in their little part of the multiverse, and so they just re-wake and go kill more spider totems, Spider-Man variants or whatever. And and that includes like sidekicks and stuff like that. Anybody with spider powers or anybody that wears something, it takes the scientific part of it and like bonds it with a mystical part. Because there's something about just even wearing maybe a shirt with a spider on it that gives you that they're going to come kill you. They're going to come kill you if you're a spider totem. So in this third chapter, Morlun is back. The rest of the inheritors are dead. Our spider friends have destroyed them. But Morlun is back, but only this time he's helping the Web Warriors or whatever you want to call them, because there's even a worse bad guy destroying the Spider-Verse, and this is Shathra, the wasp goddess.
How perfect. Wasps and spiders, natural enemies for those who look at Nat Geo.
And Shathra's minions, she's managed to recover something called the sting knife, and if a spider totem is stabbed with this, then they completely unravel. And the first character that gets stabbed is the original Spider-Woman, Jessica Drew, who I don't know why the fuck we haven't seen this character in any Avengers movies or anything yet.
I think it's simply with those rights. It's a rights issue, with Sony owning the rights. They've kind of stumbled into jackpot with these across the Spider-Verse movies. But
But that's the thing about the original Spider-Woman is her origin isn't even linked to Spider-Man. She is not a Spider-Man spin-off character. So I feel like, because they haven't even put her character in any of the Spider-Verse movies.
No, they have.
So it might be it. She's like technically an Avenger character.
I think it's shared. Like, if you guys recall, we had two Quicksilvers where Fox had the right to use Quicksilver because he was a mutant, but Marvel had the right to use him because he was an Avenger first. So I think depending on where and correct me guys in the comments if I'm wrong, depending on where they debuted, that's where the film rights go. But I think for so long, until Civil War, Marvel didn't have their hands on any Spider-Man. So it would kind of been weird to introduce her first with, even though people like you and I who grew up on the comic books for your regular would be like, how the hell do you have a Spider-Woman before you have a Spider-Man? It's got to be forthcoming soon, though.
Yeah. But they're definitely going to link her origin.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's like, think of it like if this character was introduced, what they could do, because if you read the original, they're doing Secret Invasion.
Right.
And if you read the comics of Secret Invasion, which also tied into Brian Bendis's, concurrent runs on the Avengers. So he was writing New Avengers and Mighty Avengers at the same time. And that was like during Civil War, it was covering both sides. So the New Avengers were the ones that were the rebels running and hiding with Captain America, and then the Mighty Avengers followed Iron Man and all the loyalists. And then when it went into Secret Invasion, then they had, it tied into those books. But if you remember, in Secret Invasion, Jessica Drew Turned out to be the Skrull Queen.
She was the queen. Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah. Anyways, in this Spider-Man comic, she gets stabbed with this knife and she unravels. Like completely, she turns into a web and just and is vanished from existence. Like they start, as time goes on, they start forgetting things about her. And they're like, oh fuck, we gotta figure out how to bring Spider-Woman back, or we're just gonna forget that she completely existed. Like we already don't remember her identity and stuff like that. They're like, fuck, what do we do? And then eventually Peter gets stabbed. But Peter is the prime spider totem for whatever reason. He's the prime. So if he ceases to exist, the whole web of existence unravels, thus destroying the Spider-Verse. So then that's the high stakes in which they have to, this new group of spider people, some we recognize, some new, a bunch of them they showed in the movie. They've got to figure out how to bring Peter back before it's too late. And so I recommend checking that out. It's the first 7 issues of Spider-Man Volume 4 by Dan Slott. But there's probably a trade paperback out of it any moment now if it isn't already. They've come out with those fairly quickly nowadays.
Yeah, no, they don't F around. They get them out crazy.
Well, I have some books. I read a lot of singles. I read a lot of monthlies as they come out. But there are some books where I don't think I could handle the cliffhangers. Like sometimes it's not even about getting caught up. Sometimes it's just like, well, I love this and I know I couldn't. Like I gotta read it in 5-6 issue increments. Like the Immortal Hulk. The Immortal Hulk. It was written like a horror story, right? It was like fucking Twilight Zone in the Marvel Universe. So it was like every issue had a crazy cliffhanger, and I was like, I can't do this to myself every month.
You're like me. Like if there's something I really love and it's coming out on a weekly basis, I wait till it's done. I stay away from the internet. I stay away because it's like having a delicious meal and they're like, all right, we're going to give you the soup. We're going to give you the appetizer today. Come back tomorrow for your main course. No, I'm hungry now. I want it all. I want to eat every bit of it. True fat boy talk right there. So
that's how I'm doing that. That's how I'm reading that Carnage comic right now. Cause it's just like, yeah, I can't get enough.
Love it. I love it. So those are your wrap reads for this week. Please support your local comic book store. If you can't, there's plenty of ways you can get your paperbacks online, shipped to your house. That's what we're all about, supporting your local comic book vendor. So please check out those 5 reads. They link perfectly in today's topic. So we're going to talk about it. We've both checked it out. We both loved it, as I talked about at the top of the show. Across the Spider-Verse. Across the Spider-Verse. This is the sequel to, was it 2018's Into the Spider-Verse. Picking up where they left off. Miles Morales is back. Spider-Gwen is back. Miguel O'Hara, a.k.a. Spider-Man 2099, who we left off at the end of the first one, is playing an antagonistic role like we've never seen. So we're going to get into it. First, let's just talk about how we felt about the movie. And I'll start with you, Raps, man. On a scale from 1 to 10 Stan Lees, where are you putting this comic book, man? I mean, this movie for you.
Oh, it's 10 Stan Lees.
Oh yeah, okay, I agree.
I mean, it's gonna be. I'm gonna say it's top 3 favorite. Top 3 favorite. I can see myself rewatching this a lot.
Top 3 favorite Spider-Man movies or top 3 favorite superhero movies?
Top 3 favorite Spider-Man movies.
Okay. All right, perfect.
And I always want to make this distinction. You probably heard me say this before, but my favorite does not mean that I think it's the best.
Yeah, no.
It's my favorite for my tastes. Because I will tell you this, and you're not going to hear a lot of people say this, but my number one favorite Spider-Man movie for multiple reasons is Spider-Man 3. The original Spider-Man 3. And I'm sorry, I can't help it. I like what I like. I like the camp. I like multiple bad guys, like more than two bad guys at the same time. And my favorite scene to this day, my favorite action scene in, I don't know, maybe my favorite action scene in any superhero movie is the scene where Peter fights Harry out of his costume.
Yes, bro.
The beginning of the movie when he just gets the ring from Aunt May, and he's going to propose to Mary Jane with it, and he's just walking along, and he doesn't even know like Harry's around, and Harry just comes, and they just start fighting, and it's the whole.
Harry's his friend, his spider senses didn't go off, so he didn't expect any danger, and Harry literally, until he got a bomb to the face, was really giving him the business. I'm going to agree with you. Spider-Man 3 gets a lot of hate. And I think because the first two were so perfect, and I even feel that with Sam Raimi, he liked the classic, he liked the, Ramada villains. So he didn't even want Venom in the movie.
That's right.
And so when you take an artist like Sam, who I have the utmost respect for, he's created some of the best movies, period. To be forced, I don't like when corporations force artists to do things, but for him to be forced, I think Spider-Man 3 was the best possible outcome that you could have gotten at. The dance scene alone is always, the original Spider-Man movies always had a little camp to them because that's Sam Raimi's style. But, the dance scene, a lot of people hate the dance scene.
It's horrible. I'm willing to admit that that's horrible, but that's all part of, he is supposed to, he's
supposed to be a douchebag.
Yeah, you're supposed to hate him, and the thing is Sam Raimi made us kind of hate him in an unexpected way.
Right.
I would have never imagined angry black costume Spider-Man to be emo douchebag, but he did a real good job of making us dislike that person instantly. He didn't waste a lot of time in the movie to do that. He gave us two sequences where you could just wanted to punch his face in. The one where he's the whole montage sequence where he's walking down the sidewalk, looking at chicks. Yeah, that whole thing, and then the dance scene, which results in him basically assaulting Mary Jane in the middle of the jazz clubs. So
he totally pimp smacked Mary Jane, and the whole domestic violence Spider-Man gets overlooked a lot. But yeah, he definitely gave us corner vibes.
He does do that whole corny thing where he's playing the piano and then the flute and stuff, and you're like, wait, hold on, the symbiote knows how to play instruments. The symbiote made Peter a musical. He could have just went and been on Broadway that day. It was almost he could have just went and played any part in Cats and would have known how to do it perfectly. So there's just so many questions that are raised. But
he went into Mr. Mustopheles, that would have been pretty dope. So
he was Yanni and Mr. Mustopheles and Ken and Ray Charles all rolled into one. It was just that shit was wild.
Wow.
But yeah, that would be my first, and then second would be Home. No Way Home.
Okay.
I think this would probably be my third today.
Yeah. No, I definitely put it in my top 3 Spider-Man movies, top 10 comic book movies for sure. It was fantastic. It made me want more. Cliffhanger, although great, sucked because we're talking about waiting another 2 years to see where this goes.
Oh, is it really that long until it comes out?
Yeah. Well, I think 2025 is the release date. So, and then with the writers strike, who knows? We're seeing movies get pushed back years. They've already pushed Secret Wars back a year. They've already, now it's 2026. They've already pushed back Kang Dynasty back a year to 2025. I think a lot of that has to do with Jonathan Majors and, what's going to happen with his trial in August. But we've already talked about that on another episode, the Kang Bang, available now, doing quite well. Thank you guys for supporting that. So we have top three.
Can I say one thing before you get into that, bro? I don't think of the writer's strike as a good thing per se, because being a member of the entertainment industry, having acting roots and everything, I have friends that are out of work because of this,
Yeah.
So it's not good.
No, any work stoppage in any industry, at the end of the day, while it's needed, because we want to make sure at the end of the day, as a writer yourself, nothing happens without the writer. So, I stand in solidarity. I want these guys to get the money. A lot of these contracts that we created for the creatives. And that's one of the reasons we created the D.E.N. The creatives have been getting the short end of the staff when it comes to the compensation for years. That's why I'm pro-union, because with the streaming rights and things, there's so many things that nobody ever thought. How do you get compensated for that? What type of royalties to get that? So we need to be fair. There's plenty of money. They just print it up. There's plenty of money to go around. We don't support greed. Give these artists what they deserve. And let's get back to making great movies and great content that we also love.
What I was gonna say is that I think this is going to be healthy for the artistry of it.
Yes,
this is not healthy for the industry of it, but in the long run, I think, because, dude, again, we talked about we just recorded our music podcast, guys. Marz just interviewed me about my music a little bit ago, and we talked about oversaturation in the markets. And damn, there is, with the to me, I can't complain, because I always wanted this amount of content when it comes to like superheroes on the big screen and stuff like that. But like, this is going to give me some time to get caught up, because with my reading schedule and everything like that, I haven't, it's been very hard for me to stay up on all the shows. Like I told you, there's a lot of Star Wars shows I still haven't watched. There's a couple, I'm still just getting started with Moon Knight. I'm still just getting started with Miss Marvel. I'm probably only watching Miss Marvel now because I saw the preview for the Marvels movie, and I'm like, it actually looks like kind of a concept. But that's also that's my number two thing. Problem is, I'm coming out of a lot of Marvel movies nowadays, being like, that was fun. That was fun. Yeah. Like, that's how I thought about Thor 4, but I haven't gone back to watch it yet. Where like Ragnarok, I watched it like, I'm pretty sure I saw it in the theater like 3 times because it was just so amazing. Yeah. And almost every, I feel like almost all Marvel movies at that time had the potential to have that impact or that effect for me. And now it's just kind of like, I feel like I'm going to go into something that's just, it's going to be good, but it's going to be just another chapter.
Right.
And I think with film, you almost don't want it to ever be just another chapter.
Because what's the point? It loses importance when it's just a chapter. You want the book. You don't want a page of the book. And I think you're absolutely right. I think specifically for the MCU, and we can talk about the DCU as well. With the MCU, those early movies, when we're talking phase 1 through 3, Kevin Feige was able to go around to each set and kind of, this isn't working. You had someone like us who is a comic geek who has the best interest to make this the most fan-friendly film as possible, from the Easter eggs to the plot to the storyline. Even though, of course, there's going to be some variations between the source material, when you translate it, it never lost that feeling where this is so completely away from the source material that I don't have a connection with. And I think with the former CEO of Disney, who's been replaced by the former CEO of Disney, they pump the brakes even before the writer's strike. They pump the brakes to give the artists, because I think that's why some of the special effects, for example, Ant-Man, Quantumania, which I did enjoy. I had no problem with it.
Love it.
But some of the special effects were a little shoddy. You know, I can go ahead and admit that. Some of the pacing was a little weird. And that comes from get this out, pump out this content, churn out this content. So we're seeing them slow down on Disney Plus, slow down on the theatrical releases. We used to get 3 Marvel movies a year. And now over phase 4, we were getting 4 or 5 Marvel movies plus 4 or 5 Marvel TV shows. That's a lot for people that work a full-time job. In the cases like us, we're essentially business owners. We got John E. Raps Inc. and we have Marz Inc. and we have business partners, our 9 to 5. To take time out of that and to watch 5 Marvel shows in a year that are 6 to 9 episodes and watch 4 movies and remember what's going on in the interconnectivity, that's a lot.
Well, bro, it's been like, dude, I used to say I'm a comic book fan. As far as hobbies go, I'm a comic book fan. I'm a movie buff,
Right.
and I'm a bit of a gamer. I'm pretty damn good at video games. But yeah, but now I don't even really tell people I'm a movie buff, because like I really only have time to go to the theater to see the superhero movies.
Yeah, that's it.
Like I used to see all the Oscar shits and stuff like that, but I don't have with the way they're pumping them out. That's all I go to see, man. Like I went to see Little Mermaid, and that I took my lady to see The Little Mermaid, and that's the first like not superhero John I've seen in the theater in like a long time.
No, I'm the same. I wait for some of these movies to come on streaming. I have Amazon, I have Disney Plus, I have Netflix, I have Hulu, I have pretty much every streaming channel that you can imagine. And I have to wait, and I have to really I go for spectacle movies that have to be seen on the big screen. When, like you, I saw Pulp Fiction in the movie theaters. Now that would be a straight to streaming movie, even though it's a classic movie. You have to go for the special effects. You have to go for the IMAX. You have to really make it a event to get out the house and take 2.5, 3 hours out of your day to sit in the theater. For anything less than a superhero movie is almost impossible task.
That's right. I'm like, I really want to see Indiana Jones in the theater.
I'm going to see that just because that's my father. Shout out to King Hundo, aka Craig. That's my father's favorite movie series. He loves Indiana Jones. He actually looked at the young Indiana Jones on Disney Plus. I gave him my Disney Plus password. Sorry, Disney, but I let him watch it because they put all of the
old ones. They put all the old young Indiana.
The old ones are on Disney Plus right now, bro.
Well, bro, some of those are so good.
They're very good. I'm a low key. A lot of people say it's their least favorite. Well, a lot of people say the one with Shia LaBeouf is their least favorite, Crystal Skull. But besides that, Temple of Doom, a lot of people say that's their least favorite. Temple of Doom is my favorite, bro.
Temple of Doom is the best, bro.
I love Temple of Doom. Shout out to Short Round.
Short Round, bro.
Round, who's
Short Round should have been in every movie, man.
Everything's going to be in Loki season 2 coming up this year, so that's going to be super dope. But my father loves it, so I will go see Indiana Jones in the theater. Of course, all the Marvel movies. I've seen GOTG 3. I've seen Ant-Man in the theater. I've seen Across the Spider-Verse. I will see what else we have coming out this year. I'm currently watching Secret Invasion episode 1. It's currently streaming.
You said it was good?
It's pretty freaking good. Some of the reviews, if you like Winter Soldier, you'll like Secret Invasion. Put it like that. So
yeah, it looks like they're taking a very different turn from the comic. Secret Invasion, it doesn't resemble anything of the actual comic book crossover except for the Skrull part.
Correct. Well, for one thing, in the comic book, we were introduced as the Skrulls as villain from day one.
Yeah.
In the MCU, they were pretty much as refugees who were being, they were the good guys, even as far as not No Way Home, but Far From Home, that little ending tag where you saw that the Skrulls had been impersonating Maria Hill and Nick Fury. They were on our side. So this is our first time.
Yeah, that's Talos. Talos is like, in the comics, Talos is one of their like biggest warlords.
Yeah, he's like the Khan of the Skrulls. And in here, he's just like, hey, Nick, I like to impersonate you. And so I don't know, I apologize for any of our Australian fans. I'm sorry for that accent. I'm working on it. But it's totally different. And he's still a good guy at least from what we can see. It's only been one episode, but this is more of an espionage, thriller, body snatchers type vibe. And I know we're talking about Spider-Verse, so I'll get back to it. But if you haven't checked out Secret Invasion episode 1, please check it out. Sam is Sam. He's amazing.
Oh yeah, we get Captain America.
Well, I'm talking about Sam Jackson.
Oh.
Yeah, but he might be in it. Yeah, so far in episode 1, they've had Rhodey. So we've seen Don Cheadle's Rhodey. He's like an assistant advisor to the president. We've seen Colby Smulders, Maria Hill. Martin Freeman comes in as Agent Ross. This is all on episode 1.
So it's more like a S.H.I.E.L.D. story.
So
Avengers story.
It's definitely grounded. We're not going to really see any Avengers because it's really where they left off. If you remember in No Way Home. No, I'm sorry. Was it No Way Home? Yeah. No.
There really are no Avengers now, right?
There really aren't any Avengers besides, like, people know Spider-Man. They don't know Peter Parker, but they know Spider-Man. They know She-Hulk is kind of like an Avenger. They know Hulk. They know Captain America, and they know Rhodey, and that's pretty much it of the Avengers. Pretty much the people that you saw at the end of Shang-Chi are the Avengers. Captain Marvel, Rhodey, Hulk. So they are Avengers, but it's not like it was before when we lost so many of your big heads like Iron Man and Captain America and things of that nature.
Well, then also is I forget the name of the character she's playing. Julia Maria Dreyfus, the chick from Seinfeld. Who's she playing again?
She is playing she has like 4 names, but it's like Consuela. She was Nick Fury's boo in the comic book. Consuela, and she's kind of got a Dark Avengers vibe going on, where she's putting a team together that we'll see in the Thunderbolts movie. So
so they're going to be the Thunderbolts.
Thunderbolts, yeah, they're kind of going to a Dark Reign territory with that, and I think we'll see a lot more of that by the time this series ends. But
yeah, that's great because the Thunderbolts comic actually became Dark Avengers.
Exactly.
And then it went back to being Thunderbolts.
Right, and we have most of the main Avengers are off-world. Thor's off-world. Captain Marvel's off-world. Sam Wilson is, a non-powered Captain America who, I love Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but that ending episode where he pretty much said, guys, do better, hated that. I think a lot of that suffered from, you can't guilt a villain into doing better. But overall, I'm all down for Sam Wilson, the Brave New World. It used to be New World Order, but it's been renamed to Brave New World, with my man Harrison Ford stepping into the shoes of Thunderbolt Ross. Super excited for that. So
what?
Yeah, well, because obviously, William Hurt passed away.
Yeah.
So Harrison Ford is now going to be Red Hulk, aka Thunderbolt Ross. So
that's awesome.
That's
I had no idea.
Yeah, they're shooting that right now, and I've seen some behind the scenes footage, and it looks freaking amazing. The leader, I think they brought whatchamacallit back from 2008 Incredible Hulk. I can't remember the actor, but as the leader, he'll be back. They're
waiting for them to fucking use him, man.
Yeah, they even brought back Liv Tyler as Betty Ross, so they're bringing back a lot of this stuff.
Good. I love that. I love that cast, man.
We had to wait 12 years or 13 years, but we're getting it back.
If they, did if they needed a variant, is Sam Elliott still alive?
Sam Elliott is
the original from the movie with
Ang Lee's Hulk.
Ang Lee, yeah.
I thought they were going to do that, but you know, if you can get Harrison Ford, you get Harrison Ford.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Why did we cast him and T'Challa's dead, man?
Yeah. It's gonna be dope. It's gonna be dope. But yeah, it's gonna be super dope.
That just annoys me though. Like,
well, and you know that's one of the things that's I really was emotional when I watch, and I know, guys, if we're all over the place, I do apologize, but it's a comic book show. We're going to talk about everything. I was
a lot on our minds.
A lot on our minds. I was really emotional when Wakanda Forever came out, and my first impression, I was like, "Oh, this is a great movie. I loved it." And then the more I thought about it and I watched it, I'm like, "Why did we kill off T'Challa? Why did we do?" I appreciate you giving us baby T'Challa. That's cool. But at 40 years old, I don't have the energy to wait 20 years for this kid to to give me my hero. And the first Black Panther was such a cultural, I can say as a black guy who's a comic book lover who, yeah, I was Peter Parker. I didn't care if I was darker. I was Peter Parker. I didn't give a shit. I didn't see color, but it is nice to have some representation. So even if they were going to have Shuri be the Black Panther, robbing us from T'Challa before we got any of those stories, I don't think it was the best move. I would have rather them delay the movie. Yeah, it was a bad move in my opinion. But we'll see. Multiverse coming up. I got a feeling by the time Secret Wars is ended, we will have an adult T'Challa very soon. So back to Spider-Verse.
Any X-Men stuff slated at all?
Nothing announced, but you remember for Phase 6, they have a whole bunch of dates that they haven't announced what it's going to be, and they pulled out of San Diego Comic-Con, and they pulled out of the Disney, so we're not going to get any more announcements in 2023. But I think after the writer's strike is over in 2024, when they can really get pen to pad, they're going to get some announcements. What I expect is that we'll hear the actual Fantastic Four cast confirmed. We'll get some more information on that, but nothing X-Men. But really, from my understanding of the contracts, they can't cast new X-Men until 2025 because the Hugh Jackmans and the Halle Berrys of the world, their contracts are still good until 2025. But from my understanding, all of them will be coming back for Deadpool 3. So Deadpool 3 is going to be a huge multiversal movie. It's going to have Hugh Jackman return. Halle Berry is signed on. My man Charles Xavier is back. Both Magnetos are supposed to be in this one, and it's
going to Deadpool 3. How we're going to get the X-Men in the MCU?
Yes. So from what has been leaked and confirmed by Kevin Feige himself, Deadpool 3 is going to be the true breaking of the multiverse. A lot of us thought it was going to be Doctor Strange in the multiverse. That was just kind of like the appetizer where they kind of got aware of the incursions. But if you remember in Deadpool 2, he had Cable's time traveling device, which looks eerily similar to Tony Stark's time traveling device from Endgame. And
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, it looks.
Go back and see.
It looks identical. Go back and check it out. And if you remember at the end of Deadpool 2, he's going back just effing with time. Just killing off versions of himself, just doing everything. So Deadpool 3 is supposed to start, if you guys watch Loki, with the TVA coming to arrest Wade Wilson.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, and so we're going to have...
bringing him in. It's going to be rated R.
It is rated R, confirmed rated R. And it's going to have my man, wow, as I like to call him. You know who he is. My man Morbius is starring in it as well. And the TVA come to arrest Deadpool. And similar to Loki, they send him on a mission to, essentially stop these incursions. So Deadpool is going to be putting a team together of X-Men from different universes. So we're gonna see
You say Morbius?
uh, Morbius, Morbius. What's his name? Owen Wilson's character from.
Yeah.
No, not Jared Leto Morbius, but Morbius, Morbius, the time traveling agent
sure.
from the TVA. He's going to be arresting Deadpool and having him put together a team. So we're going to get Halle Berry back. We're going to get, and that's going to bring, which I kind of like better, because starting a new X-Men and all of that story right before you get Secret Universe, that's a Secret Wars. That's a lot of storytelling when we can have these that we are familiar with, and he can pick and choose the ones that we love, while literally having incursions, deleting those universes that kind of had crazy, complicated guidelines, and then bringing them on a ship. They're also saying that we're going to get Ben Affleck's Daredevil in Deadpool 3, and we're supposed to get
Sorry, it took me a minute to register. I love it. I love that movie, man. I don't give a fuck.
No, it's hella dope. And we're supposed to get the original Fantastic Four, Jessica Alba, Chris Evans, and all of them in Deadpool 3. So it's going to be dope, because they're going to be paying homage to the Fox universe, picking the good parts. I can't wait till they destroy the universe with the Michael B. Jordan Fantastic Four.
Is that going to be there?
Yeah, they're just going to destroy them immediately to show how serious these incursions are. I could see that. Kate Mara and her changing wigs. That movie was a drizzly shits. But it's going to be super dope. So I'm excited. Do you think we're going to have, by the time we get the Secret Invasion in 2026, are we going to have multiverse fatigue, because we have Across the Spider-Verse?
That was my next question to you. Is how long does this multiverse? How long does this multiverse thing go on until the fad is played out, and until the stories settle back down into some type of singular reality? Because that's the thing is with the comics, they're the 616 world is so established,
right?
That multiverse stuff can happen outside of that, but we still have our grounded Spider-Man story going on that has nothing to do with the multiverse. We have, in DC, it's the same thing. They have alternate versions of everything, but only once in a great while do they all cross, and that's normally when they want to do a reboot of some sort.
Exactly.
So this question ties into my next question: is how long can they actually keep this MCU going without a new beginning altogether?
Sure.
How long can they actually fucking ride this out? Are they going to ride it out to the point where, are they going to do what the comics do, where they just, they have a Secret Wars, they reboot every once in a while to clean some things up. They keep what works. We'll keep Tom Holland forevers and nevers in a day.
Right.
We'll get rid of this stuff. And there's new Avengers. The Avengers start over or something, because now that they've introduced the multiverse, they can do whatever. But it's how long do we think until the multiverse shit is played out? And then how long until they just say, fuck it, and it's, a new Iron Man origin movie or a new Thor origin movie? When does that happen?
So I think, and I'm so glad you posed me this question, because I'm a thinker. Under this bucket is a big brain, and I've been thinking about this for
release my brain from the bucket.
We got buzz, we got buckets. We're the buzz and buckets brothers. We're killing it. So I believe we're going to get a soft reboot in 2027. I think at the Secret Wars comes out in 2026. That'll end the multiverse saga. So we know we got at least 3 more years of this multiverse saga. We'll still have our grounded stories. I think we'll still have stories that are grounded. But I think when Secret Wars come in, at the end of the movie, I think we'll start with Robert Downey Jr. back. and we'll end the movie with whoever our new Iron Man is going to be, whoever our new Captain America is going to be, and they'll keep the characters because they've already established a variant can look just like this character, or it can be a different person, a different being, a different race. I mean, we had Alligator Loki, for Pete's sake. So they've already set the platform that they can do whatever they want. And I truly feel that this Secret Wars will be a combination of the old Secret Wars with the Beyonder and your Emperor Doom Secret Wars. It's going to be they're going to take elements of both. And I think
just like they did with Infinity War.
Exactly. They'll take elements of both, and I think we'll start with the mutant saga after the multiverse saga. So we'll get new X-Men, we'll get new Iron Man, we'll get new Captain America. They'll retire Chris Evans, because I mean some of these guys are getting long in the tooth, but we need an Iron Man, and I don't think we'll ever see another Iron Man origin story. I think they will cleverly, because we don't need it. You know, we got it in the '08. Everyone knows who Iron Man is now. We can simply have Robert Downey Jr. officially pass the torch. His universe is rebooted, and we start with a 25-year-old Iron Man, and we just go from there. You know, maybe him at MIT, and we can have him. We'll have a brand new Professor X. We'll have a brand new everything.
Maybe that's it. Then they don't have to reintroduce mutants or anything. It's just a new MCU where mutants already have existed within society, metahumans or whatever they want to fucking call them. That's not what that's what they call them in DC, but superpowers or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. So without too many spoilers, then, because you've seen The Flash, I have not.
Yes.
Same question with the DCU. And I feel like they've been in their multiverse thing for a while, maybe because they did the TV shows that had the multiverse, which I haven't watched. I haven't watched Arrow and Flash or any of that. But didn't they do like
they did a Crisis series? They've already done a Crisis on Infinite Earth that had Ezra Miller's Flash meeting Grant Gustin's Flash. DC has been ahead of it on the TV side.
See, that was another thing that I couldn't keep up with. A weekly show that goes on for years and years. Like, I started watching The Flash, and I was like, this is cool. And it was like, the first season was like every episode they introduced like one of his new, it was how you would imagine it to be. They introduced one of his new big bads. And, but I only made it like through the first season, never touched Arrow.
Arrow was so far away. When Arrow came out, Christian Bale's Batman was still a thing. So they essentially made Christian Bale's Batman into Arrow. There were some cool elements, but once it went from the ground, because his Arrow used to kill people. Like, he was a serial killer, bro. It was like really dark. But then once they introduced the Flash and all this stuff, they lightened him up to become a hero. And he didn't become Green Arrow until like the final 2 seasons on like an 8 or 9 season run. So
he was a serial killer.
He really was. He had a list, and he came back to the island, and he was just marking all. He was just straight killing people.
He was like the Punisher.
Yeah, he was the Punisher and Christian Bale Batman mixed in the bowl. It was so far. Like, he never had the goatee. He was called the Hood, and he just walked around in the hood putting arrows in people's heads, and it was like crazy far from it. When you look at the Arrowverse and to see where it started and where it ended with the Flash, it's crazy.
Did they tie Gotham into any of that stuff?
Not the Gotham with the little kid Gotham that had my guy from, but they did have like Batwoman in it. They did introduce a Bruce Wayne. It encompassed.
I haven't seen any of that.
Yeah,
watch Titans. Titans rules, man. That's a good show, but that's not a network show.
No, it started off, but then it moved over to HBO Max, which is now the Max. They don't know what they're doing over at Warner Brothers.
But it started on that DC Universe app.
You're right, bro.
It was that and Doom Patrol.
Yeah,
and then they did one season of Swamp Thing, which was horrible.
Horrible.
That. But when they started HBO Max, they became Titans, and that became a Max original because they were like, okay, we're done making shows for this app. I actually think Harley Quinn cartoon started on that. too.
Season 1 started on the app. You're absolutely right, which I love the Harley Quinn cartoon, by the way. If you haven't checked it out, please check it out. It's super funny, super dope. It has one of my best Batman unveiling. Where Scarecrow unveils the mask and they find out that he's Bruce Wayne, and the Joker is just furious at Scarecrow for ruining his fun. And then he was like, I'm thinking half of our relationship was the mystery, and now I find out he's just a billionaire with daddy and mommy issues. And then he said, Wayne Tech told me an electric car, and I put my deposit on. Where's my goddamn electric car, Bruce? It's like the funniest Joker and Batman that I've seen in comic book, film, whatever interaction. In my opinion, it's hilarious.
That's always funny. But again, I'm not up to date on any of that shit. There's so much to keep up with. So, like, when do they? Did they? I don't know. I don't want you to spoil it for people. But how long do you think, now that they've done the Flashpoint story or whatever it is, how long does that go on for them? When is your gun gonna be like, okay?
Yeah, that was supposed to be the ending of the DCEU as we know it. So that's supposed to end the Snyderverse. But because there was so much hype behind this movie, they left enough opening where it could go either way, where they could continue some elements and then just give George Clooney another shot at being Batman, which I think he was actually a great Bruce Wayne. He gives me that playboy, billionaire playboy.
Yeah, great choice on that. Yeah.
On Bruce Wayne, it was just the campiness of Joel Schumacher, which, the Batman credit card for me was probably the worst thing I've ever seen, in the nipples on the bat suit. But I would love for him to get an opportunity to redeem himself as an older, grizzled Batman under James Gunn. To me, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is probably my favorite superhero movie this year. Emotionally, that hit me. I'm an animal lover, so is rap. So that hit me right in the black heart here. But I think James Gunn, he's a fantastic storyteller. We're supposed to see the new DCU technically with Superman Legacy, which he's written he's going to be directing. But they're saying Blue Beetle, which comes out, I believe, later this year, is going to be technically the first DCU. If anybody's seen Blue Beetle in the animated Teen Titans, which was one of my favorite animated shows, not Teen Titans, Young Justice. Have you ever watched Young Justice?
Mm-mm.
Check out.
Oh, he's in there, yeah.
Yeah, check out Young Justice. It's on HBO Max. One of the dopest animated series ever, in my opinion.
Yeah, I know they're going straight to the modern Blue Beetle character.
Yeah, Jesse Reyes or whatever.
Yeah, but I'm a little sad that they're skipping the Ted Cord.
Yeah. I'm sad. I think they're going to have some. I think they're going to do very similar to how they skipped Hank Pym and just had him as an older, established. Which obviously Hank Pym was a little problematic. He's another one like Spider-Man that might slap that B up from time to time. So I think Disney was like, you know what, we're just gonna skip all of this Hank, and they kind of insinuated.
Oh yeah, I forgot about all that. The domestic abuse between the Wasp and Giant Man in the comics.
Exactly. So, when you have a character that has that in their background, even though Tony Stark was a total alcoholic, they were just like, it's fine. We'll just touch on it. So, yeah, he had an alcohol problem.
I will say, we're talking about all-time lists and stuff. To this day, to this very day, Iron Man 2 remains my favorite superhero movie of all time. A lot of people are probably going to argue me on that, but that was when I saw this whole thing come into fruition. Yes. That's when it finally dawned on me that they were in fact doing Avengers and not just fucking around. It took a couple, it took them making a couple statements, you know what I mean? Like the end of Iron Man 1 was a statement. The end of Incredible Hulk was a statement. And then to me, Avengers 2 with everything all of that tying together, and we see Nick Fury again, and they even say the word Avengers and things. I was just like, okay, this is really, really happening.
And an underrated performance. I love Mickey Rourke. I think he's one of the dopest actors, and I think he brought one of my favorite scenes in the MCU is after Tony Stark gets attacked at the racetrack, and he meets him in the jail cell. He meets, and you see a serious side of Tony Stark. I think that was one of the most best acted confrontation of antagonist protagonist in the MCU. Truly underrated. A lot of people hate Iron Man 2. I'm with you. It's one of my favorites in the. I don't think they caught any L's in Phase 1. I even like Thor, 2011 Thor. I thought Dark World not so much, but 2011 Thor, I thought it was dope when Chris Hemsworth had the dyed blonde eyebrows for some reason, and they just never talked about it again. Like, why did this guy have dyed blonde eyebrows?
But there was funny. That movie was there was. I like the humor in that movie a lot. Like, Kenneth Branagh did a lot of there was a lot of kind of scenes where it just seemed like grandstand, just posing and stuff. And I'm like, bro, this isn't a Hamlet. But there was also, there was a lot of good humor between him and Natalie Portman.
Yeah. Kat Dennings' character, Marcy, big fan of Kat Dennings as well. So, yeah, there was definitely some, dope elements in that. And I think we're going to get back with that once this multiverse story wraps up. And hopefully, we don't end up with a casting change with Jonathan Majors. There's been some very positive evidence that has come up that this man is completely innocent. I'm glad Marvel.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they have some really good video footage. His trial starts August 3rd, but some of the evidence that they showed is pretty compelling to me that the man is innocent. Because I tell you what, say what you will about Ant-Man and the Wasp, good or bad, as a Kang, and I've said this before, Jonathan Majors did his effing thing.
Yeah, bro.
He had sympathetic elements. He had just vicious elements, and we're going to get to see him at least one more time in Loki season 2 as Victor Timely character. So I'm stoked for it. But we're almost done here, so we got to wrap up our final thoughts on Spider-Verse because we gave you guys a whole multiverse of topics this episode, man. What do you feel? What do you want from the sequel? We've had Into, we've had Across. We know next year, I believe, maybe 2025. My apologies, it's 2023. We're going to get the wrap up of the trilogy. It's going to be, what's it called?
Beyond the
Spider-Verse with the cliffhanger. And we're trying to make this as spoiler-free as possible because we know some of you have not had an opportunity to watch the movie. But for those who have watched the movie, Across ended with a crazy cliffhanger. I'm not a big fan of cliffhangers, but this is probably one of my top 3 cliffhangers in movies when we're seeing, we think everything's all good. We think we think Miles has saved his dad, and all of a sudden you're like, holy shit. We are not, this is not all good.
This is not in the clear.
This is actually all bad. What was your reaction when you saw that in the theater?
Oh, it was like, my heart sunk into my stomach.
Oh, man. So
it was good, man.
Yeah, what do you think we're going with the third one? What do you want to see from the third one?
Well, honestly, from the title, Beyond the Spider-Verse, they've got to go beyond. I think that, if they're doing that, they've got to go beyond the known Spider-Verse that has been established. They got to go somewhere outside of what we've already seen, which is what they did with this movie anyways. Absolutely. I couldn't have anticipated anything that happened in this story.
Shout out to Donald Glover's Prowler, too, by the way. The cameo.
I hope we get him actually get him in a movie.
He needs to be in the MCU. I think...
No, he was in Spider-Man Homecoming.
Yeah, but I mean, as a Prowler, as a fully established Prowler,
Yeah, I want to see him I want to see him fight somebody.
I
But
think that was the one from the MCU, by the way, because if you think about the timeline, he would definitely be the Prowler by now, because
Yeah.
if he wasn't snapped. So
Yeah.
I think that was kind of what they were insinuating, like, oh yeah, he's the Prowler in the proper MC universe.
Yeah. But you know, I talked earlier about, you know, how the original Spider-Verse comic revolved around those vampires, the inheritors.
Mm.
And you know, you see it just for a second. You see Miguel with the shadow of the fangs,
Yes.
and then they also talk about it later. I mean, he admits he's a vampire, and they say he's like, hey, he's part vampire guy. Like they talk about it.
Yeah.
So I think somewhere outside of the known Spider-Verse is the realm of the inheritors, and you know, it's not a multiple Earth situation. It's just
Right.
some, you know, probably other dimensional thing, and you know, we might be introduced to them. I do think, you know, I think there's you know, something behind. I think Miguel is not just a Spider-Man. I think he's not just a variant Spider-Man. I think he's something else posing as a variant Spider-Man to kind of control the situation.
I can definitely see where you're going with that. And
I think there's like a larger antagonist to this whole story that we haven't seen yet. And I don't think it's the Spot. I don't think it's the Prowler. I don't think it's the who else was the big bad. Yeah, I don't, but I think it might be Miguel or Miguel answering to somebody.
And there were some elements, and you guys, like I said, we're not one of those breakdown channels where we sit there and spoon feed you every Easter egg. You can check some of those breakdown channels out there, but there are a lot of Easter eggs that linked very closely to what we see in the MCU. And we know Sony's relationship with Marvel is at an all-time high. I wouldn't be surprised by time Secret Wars we end up seeing. I mean, they even mentioned, you know, that damn Spider-Man on Earth 19999, which is supposed to be the MCU, and Doctor Strange. They mentioned that when the multiverse started crashing, it had the same black goop that we saw in What If as well as in Doctor Strange. When you saw the universe in the multiverse before they went to the web, you saw it looked exactly like Loki. So clearly there's been some design elements that are in sync with the MCU. And I wouldn't be surprised if when we're talking beyond the Marvel, beyond the Spider-Verse, we don't see some of these characters step into real life so they can have their way into the Secret War. So we can have a Miles Morales that's already established ending with a live one stepping out of a thing. And he's like, whoa, in this universe, I look different. I wouldn't be surprised if we end up there. At least,
that's probably where they're going with it, man. This is how they'll introduce a live action Miles.
Yeah, you know, why not? And then have all of that history that we already have. Now I'm gonna end this because we're not casting directors, but if you gotta have would you like them to get an established kid like a Jaden Smith as Miles, or would you like to see an unknown that's just best for the role? Is there anybody out there that you think would be hella dope as a live action Miles in the MCU?
Well, I don't see what would be wrong with the kid that does the voice for Miles now.
Shamir, I can't remember his name, but he's a dope.
I don't know if he's too old for it, but
well, I mean, if you he's one thing about, you know, not to make it a racial thing, black don't crack. I think he's like 30, but he looks 15. So I mean, well, I've seen some, you know, Samuel Jackson with de-aging, he could certainly do it. I know he mentioned that he's getting in shape for it. I wouldn't be mad at it at all, you know, especially being that we've got that voice for a whole generation. That is the only Miles they know. The people that didn't know him in the Ultimate comic books and didn't get introduced to him in any other ways, I wouldn't be mad at that. So I'm happy to see him take the role. I think he's earned it. He's got a couple billion-dollar movies under his belt. He's definitely earned it.
That's what I'm saying.
Hell yeah. So that's about what we got for you today, guys, man. Both of us, 3 thumbs up. I'm not going to tell you where that other thumb is at, ladies, but 3 thumbs up for for Across the Spider-Verse. It was
Loved it.
super dope.
We got some good ones this year, man. We're getting some really good ones this year.
Hell yeah. And there's more. Before we go, since we're on Spider-Man, have you seen the trailer for the new Craven movie?
I think I started to watch it, and then like something distracted me, and I stopped. But I mean, or I just turned it off when he started to get lion powers from the lion blood.
Yeah, there was some interesting.
I'll have to go back and watch it again. But and like what is it's like Russell Crowe is the original Craven.
You cannot have a superhero movie without Russell Crowe being your father. He's Superman's dad. He's Zeus, and you cannot have it. It's literally in Hollywood.
He's Superman's dad. He's Zeus. Wasn't he somebody else recently too?
Kal-El
was in something else.
Yes, he was. Shit, it's gonna come to me after I hit in. But yeah, he's been in a lot of things. The Chameleons is supposed to be in it. I don't know if I'm into the change of him being a conservationist now and actually having metahuman powers or whatever you want to. I'm not so much like. I think in the comic book he took a serum or something similar to like Captain America, but it's mostly his skill as
mostly just a good. I'll hunt you down and kill you.
Yeah, he's just really good at that. So. And also, of all the actors in the world, casting Quicksilver, I don't know why they did that, but I'll give it a chance. I watched Morbius, so
that's the whole thing, man. It's like I mean these spin-off Spider-Man bad guy spin-offs. I mean, also that's a huge question to me is how did these guys tie into the multiverse? Because there was an incursion at the end of Morbius where he meets fucking Michael Keaton Vulture.
Absolutely. And obviously Sony did not consult very well with Marvel when they did that, because clearly, as established by Doctor Strange, the more time you spend in another universe, the more likely an incursion occurs. So I'm hoping that they use that to really have a lot of those guys in Secret Wars, and they can clean up at the end of this. We can clean up one established timeline, and really bring them over, because some good. I did love Eddie Brock's Venom. I like Venom 1 and Venom 2. Eddie Brock, Tom Hardy's Venom. Love it.
And I liked Morbius more than I expected I would. I mean, I didn't even expect it to finish the movie.
Yeah,
and I actually enjoyed it. I thought it looked cool.
I think more the problem with Morbius did with the technical aspects of the editing and the plot points and things that were left out. But Jared Leto was fine. I mean, I think Jared Leto was a decent Joker. He's a great actor. He clearly has an affinity for the superhero realm, and anybody that respects the art like that, I like to see him given an opportunity. I just think he was poorly presented in Suicide Squad. He wasn't given. I started off with the design, like when you put damage on somebody's forehead in tattoo, you've already kind of lost the battle. But I'm super stoked. Craven, I don't know. We'll see. But I don't. At the end of the day, I think Secret Wars is going to give us an opportunity to just erase all the eras and really just let Kevin Feige. Let me just guide this. If that's Marvel, let me put my hands on it. Let me talk to me first, and we can have it linked. And I think we'll end up with one super MCU moving forward. So I'm super.
But Sony really seems to be setting something up with these bad guys on the like with Morbius meeting Vulture. Do you think that's just going to be like? Do you think they're going to let that go, or do you think they're going to like actually do something with it?
At the end of the day, they're in the business to make money. So as long as they make a profit, I feel a Sinister Six movie is going to come before we get a Secret Wars movie, especially with the delay. And Sony did announce 2 new Spider-Man dates. They haven't told the title, so I wouldn't be surprised if we end up with a Secret Six movie or Sinister Six, because we've got Michael Keaton's Vulture, we've got Morbius, we've got Venom, we'll have Craven.
Morbius has never been in Sinister Six though
at all. But you know how
Venom did a very short turn in Sinister Six.
Yes, I would prefer the classic, but we kind of had a Sinister Five in No Way Home. A fearsome five.
All they needed to do was throw one more person in there, and it would have been.
And it would have worked. So I don't know why they let that opportunity. Maybe Sony was like, no, we want the Sinister Six under our bag. But I could see that. And, they've got some big names. I would love to see Tom Hardy back in a proper interaction in the MCU versus those little scenes that they threw in, which
I don't think he's done being Venom by a damn sight.
No, all those movies have made profit. He said he loves it. He puts a lot of care into it. I don't think he's done. So we'll see. We got that unanswered question of the goop that ended in No Way Home that was just left at the table. Maybe that causes an incursion because it's from a different universe. There's so many avenues they can go to. So I'm excited for the DCU and the Marvel Universe. And of course, I'm excited for great comic books that we're going to continue to bring out to you. So Raps, before we wrap up, ding, I want you to please let the people know where they can find you on social media, of course, and any final words.
Yo, it's at John E. Raps, JOHNERAPS. I got to spell it for you. For the folks that aren't watching and just listening, you can look me up anywhere, man. It's John-E-Raps, or my handle at John E. Raps, all together. I got, a lot of music projects going on. I got some acting stuff going on. Look me up.
Please look him up, man. He's dope. He's phenomenal artist and my boy. It's super dope.
Thank you.
You know who I am. It's Mr. Marz Entertainment. Marz, a.k.a. Marlon Beardo, the Bearded Weirdo. We're the Bucket Hat Boys. I'm feeling myself right now. I thank you guys for tuning in to our little unknown comic book podcast. We have to get our comic geekness off. We love it. Please check out.
This is a good conversation, bro.
No, it's fantastic, man. I'm feeling it. Please check out Johnny Rap's music projects. Please check out the rest of the Friends of the Den and the Den Mates projects. We have some more stellar episodes coming in. I've got about 12 interviews in the can for season 4 already with some phenomenal music artists. Please check out our AD Live episodes. We have Relationship Talk, the rest of the Down in the Den After Dark crew. Maybe we can get Johnny Raps to cross-pollinate and guest star on one of those episodes.
I would love to get up in there.
The people. Please check out my boy Short Man Off Punishment. That's coming back. Please check out my boy Cal Jones 757, his TikTok. He has Cal in the Den coming out. Please check out the Queen of Down in the Den, Nikki Nunu, her Are You Mad podcast. She's talking about mindfulness. And we've got flavors for everything that you want over here at Marz Entertainment. So we appreciate you guys for tuning in. Please like, comment, subscribe. Make sure you turn those notifications on so you know when a new episode is coming out. And we're going to enjoy the rest of our day this Sunday where we're filming. So, guys, thank you, as always, for tuning in. That's Johnny
Raps.
And I'm your boy, Marz. Support your local comic book store. Oh, perfect timing. Perfect timing. All right, guys. Deuce.
I did not have that alarm set.